We're going to continue on now with Austin Hill. If you have a question for Austin, please raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. We'll start here with Cameron.
Cameron Richardson, NASCAR.com. Austin, looking back now at last October, obviously you were very emotional winning here at Homestead. Just have you been able to reflect on that win coming back here, and just how much more does it mean to you now than maybe when it did in the moment?
Yeah, I've always been able to get around this place pretty well. Even back in my truck days and stuff, I was able to get a win here back in 2019, and did the same kind of deal. Just ran the bottom, did my own race, and it worked out for me. And going and rewatching the race from last year, I watched that race a lot, obviously, just to see some things that I did well at and some things that I could maybe improve on. I didn't get emotional, but I was very close to getting emotional again, just rewatching it all back. Just a lot of memories kind of came flooding in, being able to make it to the Final Four. I just don't think people realize how hard it is to make it to that Final Four race in Phoenix. So, it was a very emotional day for me and my family, and always fun to come back to a place that you've won at. You feel like you have a little more confidence here when you do are able to come out on top and win at a place like this. So excited to get going this weekend, see if we can get another one.
Go to Jordan next.
Bianchi Athletic. So all these months later, have you figured out how you were able to make the bottom work when no one else really can here?
Well, I've always been that way in my career. I've always been one to run the bottom a lot. Even last week, obviously the bottom was kind of where you needed to be last week in Vegas, but I feel like I made the bottom work really well in Vegas, and have been able to make it work at a lot of various racetracks, not just Homestead. And back in 2019, like I was saying a second ago in the truck series, I ran the bottom there all race long and won the race on the bottom in 2019 in the trucks. So in practice, the crazy thing was in practice, I was trying to run the top for a while in practice, and I could not make it work. I was too tight running the top in practice last year. And at the very end of practice, they told me, hey, just go back and do what you were doing. Let's see where we stack up. And I started just running the bottom and middle lane again. As soon as I did that, we thought we had a decent race car. And then qualifying happened. I didn't do a good lap in qualifying. And I was scratching my head a little bit going into the race. I'm like, man, because I'm sitting here thinking I'm going to have to go run the fence. And I'm thinking that that's the only way I'm going to win the race and make it to Phoenix and make it to the Final Four is to go run the fence. And I don't know what it was, but I went to sleep that night, woke up that morning for race day, and I just had it in my mind. I said, look, I'm just going to run the bottom. I'm going to go do my own thing. And until it doesn't work and somebody rips around the top and passes me on the outside, I'm just going to go run the bottom and just be down here catfishing, doing my own deal. And as soon as the race started, everybody starts moving up and migrating up, and I'm on the bottom, and I'm passing cars, and I'm like, heck, this is where I need to be. This is where the speed's at. So I think, too, on top of saying that, the reason I'm able to make it work and do the things that I do on the bottom is I seem to like a very loose race car for the most part. And for whatever reason, the way that I like the car set up and the way that I like to have it on the free side, it just works being down on the bottom. I think that it makes it a lot easier. If I liked a very tight race car, I think it makes it harder for me to go run the bottom just because of how tighter of a radius it is. So, there's just a lot of different variables to it. First time here at Homestead, I was able to make the bottom work, and I've been able to do it ever since. Not saying that tomorrow I don't have to go run the top to be able to run with Larson. We'll just have to wait and see. But I feel really good about my chances if we have the same race car we did last year.
So you kind of answer the question a little bit is you don't 100% know you're going to run the bottom tomorrow. And then thirdly, I think drivers came up to you and be like, hey, how did you make the bottom here where this is a top heavy racetrack? So they may come and ask you for pointers?
I've had some people come up to me and ask, hey, are you going to go run the bottom again and wax us like you did last year? And I just kind of laugh about it. But I haven't had anyone actually come up to me yet and just say, flat out say, like, how do you make the bottom work here? I just saw Chandler Smith a second ago when I was walking up, and he just said, are you going to go run the bottom and wax everybody? And I just kind of laughed. And He said, I don't know how you do it. And I gave him a little bit of a little tidbit of something that I do here that I think works really well. And I told him to go try it in practice. So you'll have to watch him and see if he somewhat figures it out. We only talked for 10 seconds. So, I gave him just a little bit of a pointer that I don't really want to speak on, but I don't think it makes or breaks you winning here, but I think it definitely helps you in a certain area of the racetrack to maybe make really good lap time or not. It's been funny this week, just talking to the guys at the shop and talking to some of the drivers at Colleague and stuff, and they haven't flat out asked me, but I've kind of told them just some areas to look at on the racetrack. Obviously, you don't want to give all your secrets away to your competition, but at the same time, they're alliance partners, and then obviously my teammate Jesse, like, I try to help them as much as I can, but at the same token, I still want to be the one on top, so some information I kind of keep to myself.
We'll go to Zach next.
Zach Sterniolo, NASCAR.com. With Kyle Larson running this weekend, he's running the truck race, he's running the Xfinity race, he's obviously doing the Cup race. When he comes to the Xfinity Series, obviously your goal is still to go out there and win the race, but when you're behind him, is there anything that you can learn racing against him, see what he's doing that might impact how you're driving, or are you solely focused on whatever's making that 21 car the fastest it can be?
Yeah, I'm hoping I'm only behind him in practice. Hopefully in the race he's behind me trying to figure out what I'm doing. Anytime that a Cup driver comes down to the Xfinity Series, it's always great just if you are behind him in the race or you're behind him in practice, just seeing what he may be doing that works for him. Obviously, Larson's very good at running the fence. He knows what to do when it is ripping the wall like that. So if there's anything that I can take away of looking back at some SMT data or something like that I can take away, I'm going to try to apply it if it comes to that. But at the end of the day, if I am able to make my own line work and make my own just the same deal that I did last year work, I'm just going to go do my own thing and hope that it's enough. I think that I can go run top 5 here pretty fairly easily if we have a fast Global Industrial Chevrolet like we did last year, just by running my own race and running my own line. But if it comes down to the end of the race and say we're 30 laps to go and Larson's coming and he's running the top, I'm just going to have to run the top and just hope I don't knock the fence down doing it. That's just the risk that you take. And my comfort zone is definitely the bottom lane, or maybe a half a lane off the wall like I was last year in 3 and 4. At the end of the race, I was running a little bit off the wall, and it seemed to work for me. That's kind of my comfort zone. But if I have to get out of my comfort zone to win a race, I'm going to do whatever it takes.
We'll go to Dustin next.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Normally, when we come back here, it's been a year's time. Now it's only been a few months, so there weren't many really big major rule changes that affect the cars or anything like that. So how much of a carryover from last fall to here, and how is that different from if this would have been a year's time as opposed to just a few months?
Yeah, I've been asked this question a lot actually this week, talking to various different people, and I think that's a great question, and I also think that it not being a full year for the track sitting makes it better for us. With us being so successful last year, going into this season and it being early in the year, I think that it's going to align better with how our package was and all that. Looking at the air temperature outside right now and what it's going to be tomorrow is very close to what it was last year for the most part. So all of that matters. Air temperature here, if the track temp's 5 degrees different, it means a lot at a place like Homestead. Like, this track is so sensitive. I mean, I can be out there running the race, like last year, for example, running the race, and all of a sudden a cloud cover comes over the racetrack and the car just starts driving a little different. And so you have to be prepared for those things. But, this entire 21 team, everybody at RCR, ECR, we brought the same exact car, same chassis, same setup, same everything, but we do have it, we sat down and we've talked about it, like, hey, if the track's a little on the free side or the track's a little on the tight side, how are we going to get to that point of being a little tighter or a little freer? So we feel like we have that built into our race car, so hopefully we're not too far off when practice gets started, and we just make the right changes going in from practice to the race. Because even when you practice here, like we're going to do tomorrow, we're going to practice early in the morning, it's going to be cooler out, and then we're going to go in the race, it's going to be hotter. That racetrack's going to be totally different from the time that we practice to when we race. So it's all going to be about making our best educated guess, and I have the utmost confidence in everyone on the 21 team, especially Chad Haney being my crew chief this year. He's done an awesome job of making our car better throughout the weekend, so I think that poses a real threat for the rest of the competition.
This is the first year in a long time that Cup drivers are allowed to compete in Dash for Cash races. Now, I know it's what only Kyle's been here this weekend, but what is an expectation of a Dash for Cash driver on a Cup driver, even somebody who is not regularly in the series? Are they supposed to treat you like a non-playoff driver should treat a playoff driver in the playoffs? Or, I know $100,000 means a lot to you guys, but what's the expectation now that Cup drivers can be in these types of races and maybe play a role in impacting them?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think that, say Larson, for example, with him being the Cup driver this weekend racing against us, I don't think Larson wants to be the guy that is the story of, oh, Larson got into one of the Dash for Cash drivers and caused him to lose the $100,000. But at the same token, if I know Larson, he wants to win the race. So if it comes down to the end of it, he's going to put it all out on the line and try to get the job done. So, yeah, I mean, it's a tough question to answer, really, because I'm trying to think if I was in that situation, how I would go about it. I think it.
What about for you? Okay, if you're racing Larson for the win, maybe you're burning up your equipment.
Yeah.
Maybe another Dash Cash guy comes in and closes the ranks, and now you lose because you were chasing this guy.
Yeah, I would say that if I see blood in the water and I'm running down, say, Larson, and it's for the win, the Dash for Cash thing is not going to be on my mind. As much as I want to win $100,000, like, I want to win the race more than I want to win $100,000. So yeah, I think in that situation, my mindset would be I'm going to win the race, and I don't care about the outcome of the $100,000 deal. If I was running, say, 5th, and I don't have a shot to win the race, and say the Dash for Cash guy's behind me running 6th, and I'm the one leading the Dash for Cash, my mindset's going to change. I'm going to save tires. I'm going to try to not abuse my stuff, that type of thing. But if we're talking about winning a race, it's going to be all out on the line there.
Thank you.
Any final questions for Austin? All right, Austin, thanks so much. And good luck this
Appreciate it.
weekend.
Thanks, guys.